Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another edition of Bolts Breakdown. Brian Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Jay Recher here with you, 95.3 WDAE. The Arizona Coyotes are on the ice right now for their version of morning skate. We'll get into that matchup with the Tampa Bay Lightning just here in a little bit. It's Monday, so it's a little bit weird. We're usually used to our Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule, but a lot of games on Mondays, Wednesdays, a little bit of a kind of a wonky schedule here the last couple of weeks, but we're here with you. We always want to hear from you. Let us know where you're watching Bolts Breakdown from. Put it there at the bottom of the screen. Also share this on your Facebook so we can spread the word out there and everybody can be the Thunder. All right, Burns, so let's look back to Saturday night's game, a really entertaining affair between the Lightning and the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Washington Capitals. And, man, it was just as good as advertised. It was worth the price of admission right from the jump. I thought it was a really entertaining contest. And we'll start right off the top. The guy that pretty much stole the show for the Lightning, Alex Killorn, his first career hat trick. Really, really good stuff there. And I think the big kind of the microcosm of the whole game was that second goal for Killorn. He goes one-on-one with, I believe it was Jensen maybe on defense, and he makes the move, tries to go inside out on him, was able to muscle his way around him, get the shot off on Holtby, and then follow it up on the rebound and be able to score. And that really gave some life to this Amalie Arena crowd. Not that it needed it, but when you see that, it was eerily reminiscent of the goal that Tyler Johnson scored against the Carolina Hurricanes. I believe it was during his hat trick when he beat Noah Hannafin down right in front of the goal. I actually mentioned that to Johnny after. He goes, oh, that was a little more power move from Killorn. But Alex Killorn, incredible performance. I know some people like to give him grief because he's a little inconsistent with scoring, but when he's doing that, man, the Lightning are really hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his totals, though. Like, I was looking at his goal totals. That puts him at 16 now for the season. And you look the last few years, it's like 15, 17, 19 he had one year, which is his high. But he's right around 14. Yep. He's right around there, like 14 to 19. He's right around that every year. Points the same totals for him. Like, he's very consistent year to year. So you kind of know what you're going to get out of Alex Killorn each season going in. And, beyond the scoring, he's a power forward kind of guy. He's one of those kind of unsung hero guys that goes and digs out pucks and provides a lot of energy, has really solidified that third line and has kind of been the one linchpin on that line, whether or not it's Anthony Cirelli there, Yanni Gourde, we've seen Adam Ernie there, we've seen Matthew Joseph. It always seems to be Alex Killorn as kind of the one guy that's kind of captaining the ship of that third line, and that's been such an important line for the Lightning this year. It's kind of the line that's now being tasked with shutting down the opposition's top scoring line. We saw him a lot against the Kuznetsov line and the Washington game, and I thought they did a fantastic job against them. Even though Ovechkin scored the 2 goals, I don't know that there was anything necessarily that line did that could have prevented those from happening. 2 crazy
goals. One of them was a shot from the point that Carlson threw at the net that bounced off of Oshie, and it goes right to Ovechkin. Then the other one was right off the backboards. And
that was the power play. The first one was the power play goal. And it was a good – I think Victor Hedman got a block shot there, a good block shot. It just happens to go right to Ovechkin in his wheelhouse. Probably couldn't have been set up on a tee for him any better, and he's able to power that one home. Then, like you said, the second goal, a shot that misses the net entirely, goes off the back wall. Ovi and Chernak were kind of battling for position in front. Ovi got a little bit slipped away from Chernak, and again, puck right on the stick, right to him. Nothing Vazzy could do there. But from that game, I really liked what the Lightning were able to do physically. I thought Washington came in. You saw the big hit from Ovi on Jan Ruda. I mean, that was a big-time hit with a lot of speed and a lot of power. And I don't know how Jan Ruda got up from that one. He was
a tough kid, man. He got right up.
Got right up. And that's kind of one of those things you get hit and you want to get up right away, be like, I'm not hurt, and like skate off. Then you go to the bench, you're like, maybe I'm a little hurt.
We were hurt. We were hard up in the press box from that. And you know what? You're right, though, Burnsy. The physicality I thought that the Lightning had, and it wasn't something that was manufactured like I felt like in that first game after the break in that Pittsburgh game where they were so focused on playing a physical game. I think it took them out of their element. I thought they played within the confines of the game and in the confines of their system and let the physical play just happen naturally. Matthew Joseph had a couple of big hits.
Yeah, a big hit on Tom Wilson.
That was huge, and it was a natural, and it was a clean play, open ice hit, good stuff there. Eric Chernak, really good stuff. Cedric Paquette. I mean, it was a real physical game, but I thought the Lightning, for all the people out there that are worried about the lack of toughness or lack of physicality for this team, I know it was a regular season game, but you know what? Those two teams were playing like it was a playoff game. They weren't holding anything back. You could watch it. They were determined. The Lightning wanted to prove a point. The Washington Capitals are still battling for the top seed in the Metropolitan Division. These two teams, I think, are going to like each other less and less as time goes on because they're probably going to both be at the top of the standings for many years to come. And I thought the Lightning passed the test with flying colors with the physical play on Saturday night, and I think it bodes well moving forward. I thought it was a statement game for the Bolts, and I thought it was really, really good to see them rise to the challenge, rise to the occasion, and kind of quelch any of those issues that people had that this team isn't physical enough to play with the Washington Capitals. I thought they answered the bell very well on Saturday night. Yeah,
you got to look. This is a different team from last year, and a lot of people have said that they thought maybe what Washington did last year to the Lightning was they out-physicaled them in that series. They wore them down as that series went on. I don't know if I necessarily buy that. I just think, honestly, I thought Washington was the better team, in that series. I thought they controlled play a little bit more than the Lightning did.
Their defense contributed more.
Yeah, they created more scoring opportunities. The Lightning had their opportunities to win that series. They're up 3-2, and they just couldn't get the job done in Game 6 and Game 7. I think maybe Washington just wanted it a little bit more. But I don't know necessarily that, the physical play, and they were. The Caps are a heavy team. They're a speed team as well. They pretty much had all those elements, yeah. And we're able to beat the Lightning because of that. But this is a different Lightning team this year. This is a team that I feel like can play that physical game a little bit more. A lot of that is because you look at Seti Paquette, the year he's having. He's 5th in the NHL right now for hits. Chernak, a guy that wasn't on the team last year, he's like tied for 14th in the NHL for hits per game. He leads all rookies for hits, and he's only played like half the season so far. Yeah. But he's a guy that you didn't have on the back end last year that you have this year. That's able to kind of ramp up that physicality. Adam Ernie, a full year of him. Remember, we didn't see him in the playoffs last year. He got hurt, with maybe 6 games to go in the regular season and didn't get back into the lineup. And even a guy like Matthew Joseph, not the biggest guy, not the biggest frame, but obviously not afraid to mix it up with Tom Wilson there. Had a big hit on Wilson, knocked both guys down, but I think that kind of sent a little bit of a message too. What did you think about the hit that Wilson had on Sergachev early in the game?
That's a rough call, man. It was a little high for my liking, but it was one of those things where Sergachev was kind of turning. He's not going to get the benefit of the doubt being Tom Wilson. I didn't think it was. It's tough. I thought
it was a clean hit.
Yeah,
I thought it was like shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
I know Sergachev was turning a little bit, but
it's
I
tough
thought
when the guy turns and then his head hits the board first, and people are going to assume that it's dirty. I'm with you though. I'm glad it wasn't penalized because I didn't think it was a penalty. But if they did, I don't know. It was a 50-50 call for me. But what I don't like is I don't like when the referee sees what happens as a result of the hit and then makes the call because of that. Because on that play, like you said, it was shoulder to shoulder and then he goes down. There's other times where a guy might get hit to the head, but if he pops right up, does that mean it wasn't a penalty? So I think it was a good call, and I thought everything well. And if anything, it got the Lightning sparked up and said, hey, we're not going to back down. And they kept battling with Tom Wilson. And we said the big Matthew Joseph hit. There was a couple other hits in the game. I was just very impressed by the performance from the Lightning.
I thought Washington maybe was getting a little bit out of their game. I think they were looking to hit a little bit more than maybe they would typically do during a game, and I thought maybe that got them out of how they would really like to play. What I didn't like from Tom Wilson was towards the end of the game when they get into a scrum a little bit at the Lightning net with Eric Chernak, and they're kind of Chernak's kind of like boxed in, can't really do anything, and Wilson's giving him a couple uppercuts, to the face, and then both guys get a 10-minute penalty, and it's strange. Like, what does Chernak get a penalty for? Is his face got in the way of Tom Wilson's fist as it was coming through, and you could have potentially hurt Wilson's fist? Like, I don't like when referees, you get in these scrums, one guy's doing all the damage, doing all the barking, and the other guy gets a penalty. We saw with Seti Paquette a few games ago where it seemed like every little scrum, he's doing nothing. The other guy's doing everything to instigate. Was it the Ottawa game? I can't remember what game it was. And both guys get tossed in a penalty box. I don't really see how that evens out. I think the referees need to do a little bit better job. They're in there in the mix. They know who the guy is that's doing the who's trying to do most of the damage, who's trying to instigate the most. I think that guy needs to go out and. I thought that was pretty unjust for Chernak to have to go to the – and it was at the end of the game. It really didn't matter. I think it was at the point where Light had already scored one of their empty net goals. So the game was over for all intent and purpose at that point. But, I don't like it when a guy's allowed to take liberties inside a scrum and then doesn't really have to answer for that.
One thing I didn't like last week was – or in that last game was Kuznetsov and that slashing penalty he got. He got kind of bumped by Ernie, and then he turns around and – swings his stick at the guy, and he misses him, which was good, but it's just like that's only a 2-minute penalty. Like,
And we saw that from, wasn't that Malkin earlier in the season against
for a couple of games. It didn't make any sense to me. Like, that should be something to me that should be penalized more.
Now,
you
see, I
be
think
able to swing your stick at a guy, even if you miss him.
I think Kuznetsov was angry because earlier in the game he was behind his net and Hedman slashed him on the hand. It was a slash. He got him on the hand, and it hurt Kuznetsov because he dropped the stick immediately, went off to the ice, and it took him a little while to get back in. That went unpenalized, and then later, maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, they call Kucherov for just an awful interference penalty where it's like you watch the replay and you're like, what are you seeing there that would make you call interference there? And I think it was because the guy who's marking Kucherov went down. Kucherov was about to start a breakaway the other way. It was a stretch pass to Kucherov. They called the penalty at that point. Maybe a makeup call for missing the Kuznetsov, but then Ovi scores on the power play there, gets it to 3-2, and if you're Lightning, you got to be scratching your head like we take a really bad penalty there, really bad call penalty, and we give up the power play goal on kind of a fluky play, and you're wondering, is it going to be kind of one of those games?
That play is tough too because the referee apparently didn't see the whole play, but what he sees from his point of view is that guy looks like he got tripped up, and this guy's going on a breakaway.
Right.
So if he doesn't make that call and Kucherov goes down and scores, the Capitals are looking like, how is that not interference? So it's like, that guy he's in an unenviable position right there because he probably didn't see it clean. But if you don't see it clean, you can't make the call. I don't like that. If you don't see it, you don't see it.
You can't just assume what happened because you see the aftermath.
That's what he did. That's what he did because you look at the replay after that, and it was not interference. It looked like they just got tangled up a little bit, and the guy went down. It's not interference. All right, Bryan Burns, Jay Recher here with you on Bolts Breakdown. Man, a ton of people watching. We want to hear from you. That's the big thing with Bolts Breakdown. This is an interactive show. Where are you watching Bolts Breakdown from? We actually had somebody for the first time from Hungary, I believe it was. You ever been to Hungary?
No, it's just because it's lunchtime and we're both hungry right
Christian
now.
Zebo.
There you go.
Zebo from Hungary. I like it. Go Bolts. Let us know where you're watching Bolts Breakdown from.
Puerto Rico.
Oh, first time from Puerto Rico. Anis Irabi. Thank you so much. So let us know where you're watching from. Please share this on your Facebook. We're trying to spread the word, especially as we get closer to the playoffs. There's going to be hundreds and hundreds of views here in the next couple weeks. We want you to feel like you're part of the show. So definitely hit us up. Yoko Taylor, always watching from Jacksonville. How about our guy Fabio that's always watching?
Didn't even realize that was him.
That was the
Didn't
same
put
guy,
it together,
Fabio Serini, who always watches us here on Bolts Breakdown from Italy. He got honored before the game the other night. He was in the press conference. Drip Recher from Central Isa. That's my little brother, he's definitely watching. Thanks, bro.
Drip, is that
Drip. He was Drip. My sister was Skip. I was Flip.
Yeah.
That's how we were doing it for a little while.
Right.
Frederick Olsen from Sweden. Derek Hoppengarner from Colorado. And Jesper Hermansen from Denmark.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had Denmark.
There we go, man. We're going to post that list at the end of the year of all the different countries, all the different cities that watches Bolts Breakdown from. Bryan Burns, Jay Recher here with you. All right, Burns, let's look forward to tonight's game. Arizona Coyotes, this is a team, I'm telling you, man. They're playing really well as of late. I think 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. Rick Tocchet at the helm for them. And a team that a lot of people were counting out, but they're right in the thick of things. They're trying to jump into the playoff race. What's your 3 keys to victory for the Bolts tonight?
Yeah, number one for me is the Lightning need to come in with that revenge mindset. Because if you think way back to the beginning of the season, 7-1 game. And I know the circumstances were different between that game and this game. The Lightning were playing the second half of a back-to-back then. It was the last game of that was a really long Western road trip. It was the 5th game of a road trip, but it was long just in length of time too. I think they had a few days in Vegas, so that was a long trip, and you can almost expect those. I need to start betting on those games. When it's the last game of a long road trip like that, I need to start hammering the other team. But I don't really bet, but I should probably
there you go, man. Just throw a couple
supplement my income a little bit.
Throw a couple shillings on there. There you go.
I don't know how that works if you work for the team and you bet on the team. It's probably
can't do that.
I don't want to do the Pete Rose thing.
Peter Rose here and Jay Recher. But don't want to do that.
Yeah, but the Lightning obviously didn't play well, and now it's kind of an embarrassing game for Louis Domingue. Not that he really did anything to warrant embarrassment, but going into your former team, giving up 7 goals your first time back in Arizona, the team in front of him didn't play well. Wasn't really anything that Louis Domingue did. So for me, I feel like the Lightning, they just have a little bit of that revenge on their mind. That was it takes whatever, you're at the end of the regular season. You've already pretty much clinched everything. The Lightning can clinch the Atlantic Division tonight. They can clinch first place in the Eastern Conference tonight, the top seed for the Eastern Conference playoffs, and they can clinch the President's Trophy tonight.
Trifecta.
First time in franchise history they would have won the President's Trophy if they can do it tonight. And they have, if they don't do it tonight, they've got 9 more chances in the regular
but that's
season.
Pretty crazy, though, to think you can clinch to the division, the conference, and the entire league in one night. And I know people were asking about who's in net tonight. Andrei Vasilevsky was the first goalie off the ice.
Vasilevsky.
So I know a lot of people are asking, like, oh, were they going to give the Bing a revenge game, a game against his old team? Doesn't look like it. It looks
He's had 2 already. Both of those haven't gone well for him.
Let's just go with Vazzy tonight, solidify that win, and go forward. And Dan Girardi, Anton Strawman, and also Ryan Callahan were not on the ice. I wouldn't be surprised if neither of those 3 or any of those 3 are not in the lineup tonight, right?
Yeah, I don't think you'll see Strawman. Obviously, Callahan's been a healthy scratch for a while, but I don't think we'll see Strawman or Girardi yet. It seems like they're still day-to-day, still hoping to get those guys back soon, but it seems like it's taking a little bit longer. The Lightning recalled Cameron Gauntz from Syracuse earlier this morning. I think that's more of just on an emergency basis because if you don't have Strawman and Girardi, you're down to 6 healthy D. You never know. One of these guys could go down, and you need to insert that emergency guy. But Jan Ruta, has played really well in the 4 games or so since he's come up.
You haven't really noticed him.
Haven't
which
noticed
is a
him.
good thing.
He's moving the puck well. He's maybe a little bit slower than some of the other Lightning defensemen, but he had a couple points the other day. He's doing well. It's kind of amazing how you can just plug and play these players. You bring them up from Syracuse, you plug a guy in, and this team really doesn't miss a beat. And I think it just really speaks to the system that they have and the depth that they have at pretty much all levels.
I'm with you, Rolf Springer. Would be perfect if Stammer gets the record tonight. He scores the goal to break the record with Vinny Lecavalier, gets goal number 384.
Make it the game-winning goal. You get the President's Trophy, the division, the first top seed in the Eastern Conference, and the record all in one.
Without a doubt. What are keys 2 and 3 for you?
All right, number 2, don't overlook tonight's opponent. You alluded to it earlier, but the Lightning really haven't had a lot of success against this Arizona team of
5
late.
of 6, I think.
Yeah, they've lost 5 of 6, 2 in a row here at Amalie Arena. If you remember a couple seasons ago, the 2016-17 season, the Lightning lost twice to a bad Arizona team.
I remember that.
And that was when they needed points. They were
out by 1 point.
They missed the playoffs by 1 point.
And
you
I
win
think they
one
lost
of those
to
games.
Vancouver, right? That year too.
The 3 worst teams. I want to say Colorado was the other worst team. They lost like 6 games to the 3 worst teams in the NHL. They win one of those games during the playoffs, and you're talking about like what would it be now? A 7-game or 7-year playoff streak, 7th season. Maybe they would start going on one that Detroit had that gigantic consecutive season playoff streak. So that one hurts, and this Arizona team has kind of been a thorn in the Lightning side when they've played the last few seasons. So just don't overlook this team. And now you're playing a good Arizona team, a team that's kind of scrapping and clawing and trying to fight their way into the playoffs. They've got a really good coach, really good young team. They've had to deal with a lot of injuries this year, and it really hasn't derailed them that much. So this is going to be a tough one tonight. And then for me, the third key is I'd like to see the Lightning regain that special touch that they've had on their special teams this season. The power play hasn't quite been there the last few games. It's stagnated a little bit. They had opportunities in the Washington game and weren't able to put any of those home. The penalty kill has played pretty well. Obviously, the losses of Girardi and Strawman have kind of hampered them a little bit here of late, but they've just given up 1 or 2 more goals than they have, a little bit more here in the last few games than they were in the through the middle of the regular season. So just want to see those special teams kind of get back on track. Not that they've been bad, but they've been at such a good level throughout the season. They're still ranked first in the power play in the NHL, still first on the penalty kill. And I was looking this up. No Lightning team has ever finished first for either power play or penalty kill percentage.
And they can do it both this year.
Yeah, like at the end of the regular season, I think the best they've finished is maybe 3rd on the power play last year. So another chance to make history or do something that this team has never done. Would just like to see those special teams get a little bit more rounded into form before we head into the playoffs.
Shout out to Joe D'Angelo for sharing. Make sure you guys share this on your Facebook, on your own personal Facebook, and also if there's any Lightning feeds out there, any Lightning groups out there, we can share this with you. Let's get the word out there for Sure. Elena, we just said it. They can clinch the President's Trophy, the Eastern Conference, and the Atlantic Division with a win tonight.
Basically, it comes down to only Boston and Calgary could theoretically finish in front of the Lightning in the whole NHL. Yeah. The Lightning are at 114 points right now. If those two teams win out, they could finish at 115. So Lightning basically have 10 opportunities to get one win and clinch everything. Or even if they don't do that, if Boston or Calgary drop a game in regulation, then or both of those teams would have to lose a game in regulation, then the Lightning would clinch
without
as well.
a doubt. And you mentioned shared on Thunder pot pie. I like that. The Arizona penalty kill all year long has been really good. So this is one
Michael
of those things.
Grabner had 2 shorthanded goals against the Lightning in that win for them in Arizona, and he's right
back
up there at the top of the standings for shorthanded goals.
Yep, him, Anthony Cirelli, and Mark Jankowski are pretty much the top 3 penalty killers, shorthanded goal guys.
I think Jankowski and Grabner now have 5. Cirelli's right behind 4. Yeah,
he's gonna have to get one.
It's come close.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get another one tonight for sure. So definitely keep an eye on their penalty kill. Very good. It's gonna be a good matchup. The Lightning power play against that penalty kill. I'm a big fan of Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think he's the pros pro. Every single year I get a chance to talk to Hedman or Strawman about him. They just think the world of him. Those Swedish defensemen are a really tight-knit group with Carlson and everybody else. So keep an eye on him. And him and Chalmerson, another Swede. I think he's Swedish too, right? Nicholas Chalmerson? I believe so.
I believe, yeah.
So those two guys are really the leaders on the blue line for them. But my one guy to watch right now, Alex Galchenyuk. He's been really, really good for this team. Obviously came across in the trade for Max Domi in the offseason from Montreal. There you go. The kid from right here in the U.S. of A. He's been playing really good as of late and a leader for this team and kind of rounding into that form that Montreal thought that they were getting early on. You know, you trade 2 young guys there. You're hoping that a change of scenery will do well for them. I think Max Domi's played pretty good for the Canadiens this year, and Galchenyuk really, really standing out for the Coyotes. So it should be an entertaining game tonight between a team that is just trying to fight for their playoff lives and a team in the Lightning where I think that they are not going to look ahead. I think they know what's on the table in front of them. They know sometimes when you're as far ahead as the Lightning are, you need to find little things to get you up for games. Yeah. And I think when you're playing a team like Arizona tonight, and you know that, man, we've lost 5 of 6. They've kind of embarrassed us a few times. They're fighting for their playoff lives. I don't think that the Lightning are going to need any extra motivation. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out tonight like a ball of fire like they did against the Capitals on Saturday night and have a good showing early in the first period.
This team has just done an amazing job of staying focused on the task at hand and not really looking ahead. We as writers and broadcasters and the media, we look ahead. We look at the records that this team could break. They're still on pace to match Detroit's win total. They really don't, unless they're just really like doing a really good job in the locker room of playing poker and not letting us in on it.
I mean, a guy like Tyler Johnson, we talked to him after the game of the night, and we were like, all right, so you think about that? He's like, I only think about it when you guys bring it up. Like he's like, they don't worry about that because they know it's one day at a time. And even if they win the President's Trophy, Atlantic Division, Eastern Conference, the goal is to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Everything is a piece and building and building and building to make that ultimate goal. Yeah, that's nice, and yeah, it's a byproduct if you're playing well, but that's not necessarily a goal for them to be the President's Trophy champion. They're just trying to take it one. It sounds cliche, I know, but you take it one day at a time. You try to win in every possible way you can, win the battles along the boards, win the shots, win the penalty kill, win the power play, and ultimately, if you do that, you're probably going to win more times than not, and that's what we've seen from the Bolts this season.
Yeah, they really just seem to be focused on – they just want to round their game into the best it can be going into the postseason, and that's – we ask them all the time, and that's really, the stock answer we get back. We just want to play well. We want to correct little flaws in our game. We want to continue to improve the things that we do well and just get our game rounded into form for the playoffs. And I think, like you said, a byproduct. I thought that was a good way of putting it. The way that they focus on the little details of the game and how they can get better in certain areas and how they can continue to improve in areas that they're already good at. That's how this team has been able to rack up so many wins, so many points, how they've been able to break so many records. Guys like Kucherov having just historic seasons in the NHL. A lot of that is because they just focus on the day-to-day, how we can get better from one game to the next, and everything else is kind of a byproduct of that.
You focus on the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves. Rick Tocchet out there skating right now like he's still in the NHL coaching, and that's a part of the reason why Arizona is so good this year. Their head coach, Rick Tocchet, has a very hands-on approach, and you look at all of his assistant coaches working with players, hey, man, good stuff right there. All right. Bryan Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. You can follow the team at TB Lightning. Go to TampaBayLightning.com. For the best news and notes, what's the big story today, brother?
President's Trophy.
President's Trophy right here. We're getting it ready, man. Make sure you follow me at Recher. Follow the station at 95.3 WDAE. Go to 95.3WDAE.com for the best Bolts coverage. The game will be on Fox Sports Sun tonight. And then also, as always, up the dial on our sister station, News Radio, WFLA. We'll be back on Wednesday. The Bolts are on the road. You'll be here? Or
I will be here.
All right, so we'll be back at iHeart for the next Bolts Breakdown. That's Brian. I'm Jay. We'll see you next time right here on Bolts Breakdown.